Wouldn't you love to know, with certainty, how you naturally need to succeed? Are you tired of sending out resumes and applications for internships and going for interviews, not knowing if it's the right thing for you? Don't you find it exhausting to do what everyone else is doing, trying to copy these structures and steps and desperately wanting a job, an internship, an opportunity, and you're not having any success? I'm going to share a conversation I had yesterday with one of my college students. He was frustrated, and understandably so. I've been in financial services for over 20 years, and this student is in my insurance for financial planning class. They were having an interview with a wealth management company. I'm going to share 3 tips that I shared with this student that could also help you out. And I'm going to relate how preparing for interviews is kind of like Navy SEAL training. I have a plea, a call to action for people in financial services. Can we do better? Let me tell you how. This student knows that I do career coaching, business coaching. I use the Kolbe assessment, and that's all about understanding how you instinctively, naturally succeed with ease, not stress, no burnout. He had the results of his Kolbe assessment, and I said, sure, I'd be happy to help you and have a quick conversation. Send me your results, and that will inform my guidance. Okay, because one thing I've learned over 20 years of helping people, mentoring them with their career and their challenges is not all advice works for everybody. I wanted to be able to provide very specific advice for this student. So he sat down and told me this. I went for an interview yesterday. It was supposed to be scheduled for 30 minutes. But when I got there, the person said, oh, I've only got 5 minutes. Then I have 1 or 2 more after this, and then I've got to get home, and I've got all this stuff to do. So basically, they didn't get the time that they were scheduled for. The whole 5 minutes that they did have, the interviewer kept talking about themselves, their problems, and their life. So the student says to me, and this broke my heart. The student said to me, you know what? It seems like they don't care, and now I don't care. I said, hold on a second. Let's talk. So I asked a series of questions to understand what his approach was, what he'd done, what had worked, what wasn't working, and what he was really frustrated about. And here's 3 things that I'll share with regards to what can help you prepare for these kinds of situations, whether it's interviews, even getting ready for the interview, going about how you're even applying for jobs and internships. Number 1, understand what works for you. Are you more of an innovator? Do you need to experiment and try things out? Maybe reach out to people you don't even know on LinkedIn just for the possibility of a coffee chat? At the worst, you'll learn something, even if nothing comes out of it. Is that you? Or maybe you're more of the person who needs to do some detailed research and analysis before you even reach out because you want to make a very strategic connection. You want to understand how that company works, what they're looking for, and why they would hire you. Maybe that's more of your way of succeeding. Perhaps it's about working within your network, your referrals, your connections to get you in contact with somebody who can then have a conversation with you and maybe share some advice. But first, you want to be ready. You want to be ready about what you're going to say and what questions you ask. So I've just mentioned 3 possible ways that people can operate to succeed. But here's the point. In all of these possible scenarios, one thing is in common: the human being. It's when you finally have the conversation with another human being, and despite your preparation, despite what you've been taught, things happen, things get changed. Maybe you're the type of person that thrives in disruption, in change, and an unexpected question, and maybe you're not. Once you figure out what works for you and how you need to succeed, everything is so much easier in life. Instead of trying to fit yourself into some kind of structure or mold, if you knew what works specifically for you, wouldn't you want that? We train people on how to apply for jobs, how to complete your resume. Maybe we even teach them how to figure out the AI hacks and shortcuts to create a resume and put invisible words on our application so it gets picked up by the AI technology that our HR departments are using now. Maybe it's even how to answer questions at an interview. But here's the thing. You need practice. Practice is different for each individual. I have been trying to tell HR and practice management departments, you have awesome training, but it's not landing as successfully as it could because the people coming to your training don't know how they naturally succeed. They're not certain about their instinctive strengths. They're dealing with imposter syndrome because they've been taught not to believe themselves. They've been taught to follow the structure, the system, the process set by somebody else. But what if your training, your system, your process could work and could have higher success numbers if the people that attended your training, your webinar, your workshop actually understood how they succeed, if they understood their strengths and thrived in that and appreciated the strengths of others? So now you have synergy in groups, teams, and collaborations. How amazing would that be? So here's one of the reasons that I've been doing mentorship. I created a mentorship program for financial services professionals and leaders a few years ago. It's the reason why I help people through career advice, because you cannot believe how many people have reached out to me, students, immigrants. Some of them are really experienced people back in their home country, and they're frustrated because they've sent out 500 resumes and not one response. Or they might get an interview, but then nothing comes of it afterwards. They haven't heard, they don't know what's next, they don't even know if they can speak up for themselves. The reason I'm making this video is because this student is a dedicated, committed, intelligent person who any person would be lucky to have as an intern, but he is a victim of the process. So we need to do better. People like him don't know to speak up or how to speak up about it, right? People are so desperate for a job, an opportunity, an internship. They're at the mercy of the company hiring process and how long it takes and not hearing back. These people may not know how to speak up, but I can, so I am. And I encourage all of you, or whoever is called to this, in financial services, can we do better? Can we speak up about this? Treating each other as human beings, that should be natural. So in the meantime, while all of these companies keep operating in the same way, my work is clear. I'm here to help people who are committed to the journey, who are committed to finding great opportunities for themselves that leverage their instinctive strengths, and they can live a life that is free of stress and burnout. Doesn't that sound amazing? Think it's not possible? It totally is. Tip number 1 was understand what works for you. If you don't know what that is, seek some kind of guidance. Most universities and colleges will have some kind of department that helps with that, or reach out to someone like me who can do the assessments, give you advice, has been in the industry and knows how it works, and possibly can connect you to the right people. Tip number 2, don't take it personally, but make it personal for you. We don't know what this interviewer who shortened it from 30 minutes to 5 minutes. But for this student, if you're the person that's going for this interview, that can really throw people for a loop. They feel like there is nothing they can do about it because they're at the mercy of your hiring process. But here's the thing, I'm here to speak up for those people. Can we please do better? Having prepared for a 30-minute interview and then suddenly being told he only had 5 minutes for this conversation really threw this student for a loop, because they're the type to prepare, thoroughly do their research, like they wanted to bring their A game for 30 minutes. And then it unexpectedly got moved to 5 minutes. He didn't have the opportunity to share about himself because the interviewer took up all that time, or most of it, talking about whatever was happening in their life. So he politely sat there for 5 minutes while the interviewer did most of the talking. One of the things we teach in financial services, especially for advisors, is talk for 20 and listen for 80, right? That 80-20 rule. But the people that are interviewing, maybe they weren't trained that way or got caught up in the chaos of their day and their life. What I did was advise the student to learn from this and make it work for him next time. Knowing his Colby result and how he needed to operate to succeed, my advice to him was very specific and different than the advice I gave to another student based on their Colby result. This person was detailed, thoughtful, needed to prepare, did research, all for a 30-minute interview. which then got shortened to 5 minutes. So what I said to him was, last minute changes doesn't really work for you. You have a process, you're planned, you're thorough. When sudden changes come up, here's what you do. The next interview you have, before it even begins, ask, are we still good for our 30 minutes or however long the interview is? Are we still good for X time? Great. Then you know, your body and your mind know that you've prepared for this. You want to listen to what that interviewer has to share to see if it's right for you. If you don't have the initially agreed upon time, he had 5 minutes, not even half the time that was originally scheduled. If they say they've got less than half the time they originally allotted for you, great. You're not going to give your 100%. You're going to give 25 to 50% of the information because that's all they have time for. And if they're curious enough about what you've said, then they'll ask more questions. There's nothing stopping you from saying at the end of it, hey, can I follow up with some questions? Can I follow up to have a more in-depth conversation? I'd really like to share how I can contribute to this team. There's nothing wrong with that, just most people don't know that they can do that. I've done a lot of interviews. I've been the interviewer. And when somebody asks me that, that tells me a lot. That tells me that they're committed to this process and they really want to share how they can help my team or how they can contribute. And they're eager and interested. If they took the time to ask me that, I'm very likely going to make time for that and accommodate that request. It's perfectly okay to be proactive and reach out. Not knowing what the interviewer was going through in their life, not saying that shortening an interview from 30 minutes to 5 minutes is okay, definitely is not, but what you do after that matters. But to the person who shortened that interview from 30 minutes to 5 minutes, especially in the wealth management space, we need to do better. Guaranteed, and I don't know if you've experienced this, I certainly have, the next time that company name comes up in a conversation, not only is that person being interviewed going to remember the person that interviewed them and that whole experience, how you made them feel, they're going to associate that with the company and the industry as a whole. We don't need that. That shouldn't be the default. For so many of us for so long, it has been. So we need to make a change. This is my plea to all in financial services and for those hiring around the world. Please, this is my plea. We need to do better. Because here's the thing. The student won't remember everything that you said during those 5 minutes, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And although these people are students now or they're new immigrants now, one day they'll be your boss, your lender, your service provider, your collaborator. In other words, with time and experience, they will outgrow you. And then they will have a choice for the next person who approaches them and how they will treat them. Very often, we learn how to treat others by how we were treated. So we need to do better. Tip number 3. For those who are trying to prepare for interviews or even sending out job applications or having conversations, networking, tip number 3 is keep staying in action. And I have a twist. Not doing anything is not getting you noticed. Whether you know what to expect or not, whether things change at the last minute, be prepared. Some of you won't need much preparation at all. And some of you need to practice and put yourself in scenarios and practice what you say, how you'll react. And that's okay too. But be prepared by knowing what your instinctive strengths are. I want to expand on how Navy SEAL training is like preparing for an interview. Navy SEAL training is one of the toughest military programs in the world. And it pushes candidates both physically and mentally and their limits. It tests endurance, strength, and the ability to function under extreme stress in unfamiliar situations. Starting to see the similarities. SEAL training is also about mindset. It's all about mental strength. How do you prepare yourself to be mentally strong for something you've never done before? Or maybe you tried it the way you've been told and it's still not working. Rejection is real, and rejection is an internal issue. When I was talking to this college student, what they were saying to me was, I went for the interview and they didn't even give me more than 5 minutes and they just rejected me. I get that. But here's what I told him. Some people send out 500 resumes and don't even get an interview. What kind of rejection is that? They don't even know you yet and they're rejecting you. Or maybe they had a 2-minute conversation and they're already rejecting you. So the growth mindset is really important. Work with a career coach, a counselor, a guidance counselor. Taking action is in your control. And taking purposeful, intentional, aligned action that is about how you naturally need to succeed. Don't just stay in action, but stay in purposeful, intentional action in a way that is more aligned to you, that leverages your natural strengths. If you're not sure what your natural strengths are, think of all the things that kind of seem easy to you that everybody else always compliments you on or say, oh, I wish I could be like that, or oh, I wish I could do that. And for you, it's easy. That's probably one of your instinctive strengths, but you underappreciate it because it's just so easy for you. If this is something you want to work on, whether you're looking for a role or already in a role, but it's not feeling right, and you want to know what you can do to improve your situation, what changes you can make for yourself that will make your role, your environment work a little bit better for you and experience less stress and burnout, then send me a DM on my LinkedIn or reach out through my website, annieismarlian.com, for a free consultation. There is hope. There are good people out there. You just need to figure out the right way for you. Success is there. Success is available. Okay? And one last tip I'll say, what I told the student is, if you're approaching this from I need this, I want this level of energy comes across as desperation. And whether you're trying to hide it or not, people feel that. Don't be too attached to the outcome. You can only control your part. And the part that you can control, you want to be really well informed about, which is why I say get some advice, get some guidance. What's in your control, you can work on. How you work on it, your focus, your time, your skills, your strengths, that's within your control. The rest of that process, where other people are involved, there's going to be things that are not in your control. So what is your intention when you're going through this process? Is it, I've done these resumes, I've applied everywhere, and they owe me a job? Or is it, I'm going to learn everything I can about getting really good at this and figuring out how it works for me in a way that makes it easy? I'm not saying take shortcuts. I'm saying leveraging your strengths instead of trying to fit yourself into a mold that doesn't work for you. And so what I told the student was, it's not about this one interview that got shortened and they didn't treat you like a human being and you felt rejected. It's about what did you learn for the next time? Because this is the long game. And he said, I really want this internship. So here's a couple things. That internship was necessary for his program graduation. A lot of these students have this requirement to be able to do these internships, and honestly, sometimes they're like, I'll do it for free. I just want the experience, and I need this as part of my program. If you are going to hire somebody for free as a volunteer because it's part of their course requirement or because they just want to learn, please treat them well. Take them out for lunch. Treat them to a coffee or a snack every now and then. Bring them to meetings and events where they normally wouldn't be let in. Because you get into the room, they also get to come and observe. That kind of learning and training is priceless. Connect them with people in your community, in your network. Introduce them to people in your office or whoever that you're working with. That is priceless. So if you're not going to pay them, treat them well. Treat them well. And if you're not sure how, ask them, what can I do for you? What would you like me to do for you? They may have some ideas that will serve as inspiration for you that you can then take care of for them. It's about sticking it out for the long haul, because whether you have a job or you're looking for a job, this whole practice of interviewing, connecting, talking about yourself, highlighting your contributions is an ongoing thing throughout your career. It never stops. but it just seems like some people are naturally good at it. It's a learned skill to be able to speak in an interview way, in a networking way. You have some natural instinctive strengths that would make it much easier. The pressure to perform well and prove your worth, I'm going to put in quotes, that whole experience is overwhelming. While SEAL training is more obviously physically demanding, preparing for an interview, speaking with somebody about your contributions and how you can fit into this team and role does take a toll on your body. It's just a little bit more invisible. And nobody really talks about that. So when you understand your strengths, prepare your body to have the capacity to do interview over interview, apply, another conversation. You need capacity. And there are techniques you can learn around speaking, but really it's about understanding how you operate. Some of the mental stress that comes up is, what are they going to think of me? Am I doing a good job? Do I know enough? What if I make a mistake? What if they don't like me? All of this is also operating in your brain, and it's really affecting and influencing how your body is dealing with it, the kind of stress you're going through. If you could make it easier on yourself, wouldn't you? I'm pretty sure you said yes. Why don't you? When you're interviewing, whether you know the language, whether you're fluent in a language, or maybe you have a language barrier, maybe there's a cultural barrier, interviewing is a whole nother skill. As much as there's some guidance out there that is somewhat helpful, nobody really focuses on what works for you. How are you going to succeed? I used to give advice that worked for me. Naturally, people are going to give advice on what worked for them. That doesn't work for everybody. Not all the books written out there are for everybody. That's just why some people choose different authors. If you have very strategic, intentional guidance, like some of the work that I do with people, then you have a specific idea of how you succeed, how you need to succeed, and how you're going to do it with ease. Everybody's different, but everybody can succeed. Whether it's landing a huge role or an opportunity, building relationships, seeking mentorship, and learning from others' experiences can make all the difference. This is why I have this mentorship program I've been doing for a few years in financial services. It's also why I do some mentorship for people who are students or starting out. I have volunteered in some organizations where I help out with this advice. This is where I'm coming from with all that experience at play. When I started in this industry, there wasn't really a ton of mentorship. In fact, I would say there's still not enough, not just enough mentorship, but the right kind of mentorship throughout other industries. It's not done intentionally enough. It doesn't work for the person. It's just plopping you into a structure and saying, here, talk, connect, figure it out. People aren't given the opportunity to figure out their strengths, figure out what works for them. And they're not given the opportunity to do the deep human work to deal with imposter syndrome, the uncertainty, the need to be accepted. Maybe it's fear of visibility. None of that is talked about. We don't train on it. Unless you've stepped out of the industry for these kinds of programs and learning like I have, where you're learning about how the brain works, some neuroscience. I'm part of different coaching programs. Like, this is a passion of mine, and this is why this is so important for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. In summary, the 3 tips were: understand what works for you. Don't take it personally, but make it personal for you. And stay in intentional, aligned action. If you have any questions or you'd like some advice or guidance, you can put a comment in this video. When you ask a question, others also learn from the answers. Feel free to put it in the comments so that I can provide some guidance, advice, or share my experience. Or if you'd like to privately send me a message and see if there's a way for us to work together, you can go to my LinkedIn, Annie Ismerlian, or my website, annieismerlian.com. I'll put the links in the description to make it easier for you. Have a great day. See you in the next one.